Hello everyone, I'm home. Welcome back to my channel. I would like to share with you a recipe today. I told you in my last video that I might take a few minutes this weekend to show you my dressing recipe, just so that you'd have time to make it if you think it's something you'd like. I'm going to be honest with you. This is the simplest recipe known to mankind. It is so easy. It's what my mom always made. It's what my grandma always made, and it's what we all like. So, this is what my porch looks like with the snow and the fall decorations. You're going to start out cooking your turkey. Now, for this recipe, we're going to cook a turkey this week. So I just cooked a small turkey breast in the crock pot. I've never done that before, but I did it this weekend so I could have the broth to make you guys this recipe. So I just took a half a stick of butter, but on a big turkey, you would want to use a whole stick of butter and probably put it in the oven. It's however you like to cook it. That's about how much butter you need for a turkey breast versus a big turkey. And then I sprinkle the turkey with a half a tablespoon of garlic salt. Yes, garlic salt, not powder. This is what my mom always used, so that's what I use. I've tried the powder and it's not the same. Then you want to put a teaspoon of poultry seasoning on the turkey and just kind of rub that cold butter on the turkey and sprinkle the seasonings on top, and you're going to put a little bit of pepper on there too. I just sprinkle this stuff on. I don't really measure it, so I'm giving you guys approximate measurements, but this is just how I do it. And on the big turkey, I use a whole stick of butter and a little bit more seasoning. I just shake it on there till it looks right, and then you bake the turkey at 350 until it's done. Now, I did mine in the crock pot this time, but normally you would bake it. And I'm going to trust that you guys know when your turkey's done, so I'm not going into that. You'll know what size turkey you have. So this is what the turkey looked like in the crock pot when it was finished. It has a beautiful skin, and the broth is just so rich and delicious because it's got that butter and all those seasonings, and it's just so good. Now, what I usually do is cook my turkey the day before and put it in a crock pot with a lot of broth, and then I drain off the broth and use a lot of it for my dressing. So I want you to take the broth from that turkey. Now, don't use chicken broth. Use the turkey broth with that butter and the seasonings in it. I think that's what always made Mom's good. She didn't use a can of chicken broth. And put that aside, either 1 to 2 cups it usually takes. Now, I make a lot of dressing, so I need more. But for this little recipe, we're going to use 1 package of hamburger buns, or hot dog buns. Now, my mom used hot dog and hamburger buns because of all the brown on the top of those buns. When you use bread, you don't get much of the brown, and she always thought it looked prettier when there was a lot of brown in the dressing. So she always used these buns. Now, when I try it with bread, it's not as good. The buns are better. I don't know why. And I crumble up the buns, and then I take that brown layer off the top and break it all up, and I put it in my pan, whatever size I'm going to use. Now, I'll use a huge pan for ours, and I'll use about 3 packages of buns, but this is just enough for like 4 people or 5. And I put it in my casserole dish. Now, mine is always heaping up to the top because by the time you put the broth in, it's going to smash it down and it's not going to be very high. And then I lay a paper towel over it, and I let these breadcrumbs lay here on the counter all night. Then the next day, when I'm ready to put it in the oven, I take 1 medium to 1 large onion, depending on how much you make. If I use 1 package of buns like I did here, I just used a medium onion. We like a lot of onions in ours. You don't have to put onions in it, but I think you have to. And you can also put celery, but most of my family doesn't like celery, so I don't do it. But Mom used to put a little bit of celery in it, and you can. And carrots. Some people put carrots. And if I'm doing a big bunch like I'll be doing, I'll use a large onion. And I just chop that up. And then I take a little bowl and I put, I don't know, guys, probably a teaspoon to a tablespoon of garlic salt. Just like a half a teaspoon of poultry seasoning. We're not crazy about the sagey taste, but you can use more if that's what you like. And a little bit of pepper. And then your reserved turkey broth with all that good old butter fat in there. That's what makes it so good, guys. It is such a rich broth. And you're going to start with about a cup. And a cup and a half would probably do this little pan that I'm doing. But I'll do about 2.5 cups for our other. And then if I need more, I put water in because it gets a little too brothy. And then you bake it at 350 until it is firm. Now, this isn't like stuffing. It's not all crumbly and falling apart and loose. It's firm. As a matter of fact, Matthew takes it and like makes a square out of it and makes it look like a piece of bread. And he puts the turkey and the mashed potatoes and the noodles and all the stuff up on it, and then puts another piece on top and makes like a Thanksgiving sandwich. Guys, this is just so basic, but it's so good. And then you bake it until it's firm. And once it's firm and it's not, you can push on it and it's not, all runny, because it's pretty moist when you put the broth on it. You want to get it all wet, but not real soupy. Once you get it done and you see that it's a little brown on top and it's firm and you shake it and it doesn't move, then I always take a ladle full of broth and put over the top of it right before I serve it. Guys, it is so good. Now this is just the wet mixture before you bake it. And I'm going to tell you the truth. Matthew and I like it this way, just raw. And my niece does too. And so all of Matthew's life, when I make this, I put some in a bowl, this raw mixture, and I take it into his room and say, here, Matt, here's your raw dressing. And as I'm leaving the room and going down the hall, I hear his spoon clicking against the bowl really fast. He's chowing down on it. He and I would rather eat it like this. I know that's gross, and you guys probably think, oh my gosh, your family's crazy. But we like it like this. And my mom used to eat it out of the bowl before we're crazy. So anyway, but I will say that it's really good once it's baked. And my brother-in-law, Bob, he used to call me in July and say, hey, Mars, I don't know if you'd feel like making turkey and dressing, but I'd sure like to have some. And I'd say, yeah, I'll make you some. And I'd make it. And he'd just rave about it. And whenever Kevin's family comes over, they all rave about it. And my family raves about it. And I'm not bragging, but it's my mom's. It's not mine. It's her recipe. And it's good. And if you go do your stuffing thing with cornbread, that'll be great. Okay, this is my countertop on the other side. It's all done. This is when I had painted it the orange water, the watered down orange water. And this is after it had a coat of the sealer that is for countertops and butcher blocks and wooden bowls. And I buffed it and I put another coat on and I sanded it and I buffed it. I can't even tell you how many steps I went through. I did it all weekend. And this is the raw edge that I like so well. It's beautiful along that. And then this is the rounded edge. And guys, there's a show called, I'll have to find it and tell you in the next video, because I've got a big video for you next, where they show rustic kitchens for Christmas, and a whole bunch of them have really rough wood countertops. They are just beautiful. I wish I had watched it before I did this. I'd probably beat the wood up even more. But it turned out so beautiful, guys. It's finally all dry, and I ran a paper towel across it, and none of the oils or conditioners come back up. It's all in there. I took old socks and really rubbed that stuff down in it and buffed it really good. And it's got a little sheen to it. And I'm going to have to oil it from time to time, but that's okay. I love it. And the raw edges and the big nicks that are out of it makes me so happy. And I put a little tiny Christmas tree on, a little footstool that I have up on the counter, and I put my snowman behind it because I don't want to put him outside until I take my fall stuff down. And on this little tiny tree, it's only about 12 inches tall. I put little cookie cutters on it and my little stockings that I've made so many of. I've made a lot of those stockings. And I make a lot of those little miniature Flow Blue plates and other plates. And I put those on it, kind of just tuck them in the branches. And I put some dollhouse furniture on it and some little pictures of Santa Claus. And it's just a little soft glow in the kitchen. And, of course, I've got a pumpkin sitting right beside it because Thanksgiving is this week. I got a little bit of both, but I think it looks okay together. And the countertop is just making me so happy. So this year I decided to put my Christmas tree in the corner of my dining room instead of the living room. And I'm going to put a small tree in the living room. And I know I said I'm not going to get into Christmas real big, but that's back when Halloween and fall decorations were going on. And I couldn't even imagine it. There's the little wooden cutting boards I made that are about 3 inches tall. And I said I wasn't going to get into Christmas this year. I'm just not going to put up so much. But once Halloween was over and I put that away, then I start getting my Christmas out and I go crazy. But I am going to put the smaller tree in the living room. And of course I tuck my little Santa pillows in the big holes. And this is a little primitive ornament I got at the thrift store the other day. And I'm going to make a thrift store video for you probably tomorrow. I just wanted to get this one on here with the recipe. And there's a little miniature cabinet I made for my dollhouse. And I sometimes put dollhouse furniture tucked in my trees. And it looks real pretty in the corner of the dining room. And it's kind of out of the way. And I set it on an old chair that is one of our dining room chairs that's an extra one. And it's usually in the bedroom. And I just tucked it back there in the corner and set the tree up on it so it almost goes to the ceiling. So it looks really pretty back there. And then on the chair and down below it, I've got some baskets. And that's where I'll put our gifts. And then my tree in the living room will just have little small gifts. That's the little grater that my girlfriend Sherry gave me. It's an old rusty grater. It looks real pretty on the tree. I did that last year. I think you guys have seen all these ornaments. And there's the tree going from the bottom to the top. I tucked some of my baskets in, my old baskets, and I used the bigger ones at the bottom. And as I went to the top, I got smaller and smaller with the baskets. And I put my pears that I made last year. And I just love it. I'm real happy with it tucked back there in the corner. And I didn't fill it with all the ornaments because I've got too many ornaments, but I'll put those on my little tree out in the living room. And then I wanted to tell you guys that I went on a thrifting jaunt this weekend, and I'll have to tell you the story. I'm going to try to do it tomorrow, but I found this tablecloth. It was a huge tablecloth. I thought it was a curtain, and it was bag day at the thrift store. And I'll tell you all about it later, but I threw this in because it was so pretty and it was like brand new. And I got it home, and it's huge, and it's thick, and it's fabric, and it's got a tag that says Food Network. So I looked it up, and I found a vinyl one from the Food Network with this pattern, and it's selling for about $20 on eBay. And this was just practically free because I threw it in the bag. But what I'm going to do with it is, now that, well, I do this every year, that long expanse of countertop that goes to my refrigerator, this is the vinyl one I found online, it's where I put all my food on Thanksgiving, and we eat buffet style. And I always put a long tablecloth there and fold it in half, and it's always orange or plaid. Well, this one's perfect. It's just the right width, and I folded it in half and laid it there, and it'll protect my countertop from all the heated pans and everything. And it fits perfect. Of course, that other stuff will come off the counter, and it goes all the way to the end, and it's a nice thick linen, and so when I fold it over, it's going to be a nice padded countertop cover. I hate to cover my countertops when company's coming, but I always cover it, and so this is going to be pretty for Thanksgiving. And I'll tell you the story about the bag day thing. You guys are going to love this story. And this is my big refrigerator, and now that I'm going to take that refrigerator out and build a new cabinet in there to put the new refrigerator in. You can tell that there's a little gap there. Our refrigerator, I don't like stainless steel. I just don't. It's pretty and it's easy to clean, but when the boys were home, it was always covered in fingerprints. And right now it's got some little scratches on the front where I tried to take some sticky tape off of it that would tape something up, and it left marks. Now the side of the refrigerator is black, and it doesn't show anything because it's kind of textured. Now this is the top, and I have lovely soffit from the 1970s. So I'm building a cabinet about the size of that refrigerator. It's just not going to stick out as far. And it'll have my refrigerator in it, and a place for my trash, and a place for my cookbook and all that. And I was noticing my friend that passed away recently, she gave me that wooden cake stand about 2 years ago for my birthday, and she had also given me this big crock bowl, and I had it sitting on my counter, and it just dawned on me today that that whole setup was from her. So I'm happy to have that sitting out for Thanksgiving. It makes me think of her, and she loved bittersweet, so I've got a little bit of bittersweet tucked in there with those pumpkins. So yeah, my mouth is watering for this raw dressing. Now, I know there's a difference between stuffing and dressing, and this is dressing. That's what my mom called it. So, oh boy, guys, I'm looking forward to that. We had it today, and it was fine, but I'm looking forward to it with everything. And I want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. And I'm going to do a video. I'm going to try to do it tomorrow where I actually come on here and talk to you guys and tell you about the bag day thrift sale that we went to. It was phenomenal. and I got some really cool stuff, and I got to hang out with some really good friends. So please like and subscribe, and this has just been a short video with the recipe, but I'll see you tomorrow, and I love you guys from the bottom of my heart.